Do you know who came up with this foldable kick scooter? Wim Obote, the founder of Micro, the company behind Microlino. What is it? How does it ride? How much does it cost? And is it worth buying? The Microlino, not this thing. Let's get cracking. This Microlino was provided to me by a company called Kuneo, who are the Polish distributor of Microlino here in Poland. Link in the description. However, this video is not sponsored by Kuneo, so I can and will tell you everything I think about this car. What is the Microlino? It's an electric microcar which, depending on the spec, can be classified as a light or heavy quadricycle. This is the latter version. It's made in Italy for the Swiss company Micro. An unusual feature is the door in the place where other cars usually have the bonnet. The door is on a strong strut, so press a button under the right wing mirror and it opens by itself. But is it a mirror or maybe a headlight? There's a lot to unpack here, so let's talk design. The Microlino design is strongly inspired by the 1950s Italian microcar Isetta, which was sold under several brands, including probably the best known BMW Isetta. The Microlino is only 23 centimeters longer than the original Isetta and is just under 252 centimeters long, which is roughly the same as the original smart car. At 147 centimeters wide, the Microlino is 4 centimeters narrower than the Smart, but the height is about the same, 1.5 meters. The Smart had a much longer wheelbase, 181 centimeters, while the Microlino's is less than 157 centimeters. But in the Smart, the driver and the passenger sit between the front and the rear axles, while in the Microlino, the driver and the passenger rest their knees on the front wheel arches. Another potential competitor for the Microlino is the Citroën Ami and its other variants from Stellantis brands, the Fiat Topolino and Opel Rocks E. In the light quadricycle form, the Microlino has similar dimensions and performance. Like the Isetta, the Microlino also has large headlights mounted on the sides, but the designers used their shape to mount wing mirrors in the back. Like some iteration of the Isetta, the Microlino also has sliding side windows, and like the Isetta, the Microlino also has a narrower rear truck than the front. In this case, it's just a styling exercise. The Isetta, on the other hand, was also available as a three-wheeler. This meant in some markets it was classified as a motorcycle and did not require a full car driving license. However, unlike the Isetta, Microlino has a sizable boot. I find the manufacturer's claim of 230 liters to be quite conservative, as the boot volume increases when the bench slides forward. In my sitting position, the boot volume is probably closer to 280 liters. Why? When I booked the Microlino for a test drive, I wondered where I should go shopping or what should I transport in the boot to joke about its size, but the joke's on me. I even fit my Peli Air 1615 in the boot. Google it for full dimensions. This case won't fit flat in the Defender 90 boot. And because the Microlino can be equipped with an opening roof, like in my Mazda MX-5, I'm not afraid of transporting longer items here either. If you want practicality, Microlino is surprisingly practical. And now, back to the unusual door situation. Getting in behind the wheel requires some practice, at least at first. The Isetta was so small that the steering column was attached to the door and partially moved out of the way as the door opened. In the Microlino, the steering column is fixed, probably also for safety reasons. While it's possible to get in even if there is a passenger already sitting on the right side of the bench, it's more convenient for the driver to get in first. But don't get too comfortable, because you still have to close the door, and that means you have to lean far out front and grab this strap. Now, no need to slam the door though. There is a soft close mechanism. In front of the driver is a basic digital gauge cluster showing you just the speed, power, trip meter and warning lights. In the middle of the dashboard, door, whatever, there is a small display with virtual buttons for ventilation, cabin heating, front and rear window defrosters, as well as the tailgate latch release, cabin lighting and some basic settings like the language, the display mode and units, as well as the reset of the trip meter, which may be important to establish this vehicle's actual range. More about that in a moment. Throughout the cabin there are some storage nets, elastic straps which act as cup holders, and a cubby on the passenger side wheel arch. On the driver's side is the drive selector, and next to the seat by the floor is the handbrake. On the passenger side by the floor there is an emergency door release. The electric door release button is behind the display on the door. There are two USB-C ports under the display on the door. Next to the central display is a phone holder, and that's going to be your infotainment system, along with the optional Bluetooth speaker, which can be plugged into one of the two USB-A ports, which are in the passenger side cubby. And that's that. So let's get moving. On the one hand, the Microlino is destined for the city, but on the other hand, I believe that in the city there are usually other means of transport available other than cars. It may be a bicycle or a bus or a metro. If you have to get behind the wheel of a car, it's usually to cover longer distances. Therefore, I assume that the Microlino will not just be puttering around town the 2 or 3 kilometers from one end of a suburb to another, but may also drive from so-called dormitory or bedroom towns into office districts in the city. So let's assume that the Microlino should be able to cover 50 to 70 kilometers a day, and I have done several such trips, both with sections on the expressway and just urban and suburban routes. The base spec Microlino in the light quadricycle version has a battery with a capacity of just 5.5 kilowatt hours, a maximum speed limited to 45 kilometers per hour, and a range of up to 95 kilometers. The unlocked version accelerates to 90 kilometers per hour and has a range of 93 kilometers. Then we have the intermediate version with a battery capacity of 10.5 kilowatt hours and a range of 200 kilometers for the light quadricycle version and 177 kilometers for the unlocked version. The largest 15 kilowatt hour battery version is unlocked and has a promised range of up to 228 kilometers. This is the model I'm reviewing. Basic mathematics tells us that in order to travel 228 kilometers on 15 kilowatt hours of energy, the Microlino would have to use 6.6 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, but my wallbox shows me that the net battery capacity is only about 12 kilowatt hours, so that would mean 5.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. Unfortunately, this is not the case. The kilometers traveled and the remaining range indicate power consumption of around 8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which means a range of around 150 kilometers. Probably the Microlino is most efficient at speeds below 50 kilometers per hour, but Warsaw is a peculiar city where you are either stuck in traffic or we're driving 60-70 kilometers per hour. The Microlino is nippy, not fast but nippy. The manufacturer promises 5 seconds from 0 to
50 kilometers per hour. I checked in normal mode, I managed to achieve 8 seconds, and in sport mode, yes, the Microlino has a sport mode, over 6 seconds. I assume that me and my video gear weigh more than the test driver, and with 16 horsepower, every kilogram counts. The sport mode is especially useful when you're driving about 70-80 kilometers per hour and lack the power to overtake a truck. There is no point using it in the city.
The A-pillars may be thick, but at least the wing mirrors are low enough that visibility to the front is okay. To the sides it's no problem either because there are large windows. I wish there was a central rearview mirror because the wing mirrors are small and for safety reasons it's better to look around before changing lanes. You have to learn how to maneuver this thing. I still can't tell where the Microlino ends, and I suspect that I leave a lot of space both in the front and in the rear. On the other hand, I feel its width all too well, and I've had to move away from other cars to give drivers room to open the door. I have a door in the front, so I can squeeze into any gap. The Microlino doesn't have power steering, so it's best to turn the steering wheel when the car is moving. Just remember that the drive selector is slow to respond.
The suspension is harsh, slow down to a crawl before crossing speed bumps. Cobblestones are painful, and remember that the front track and the rear track are different width, so even if you avoid a pothole with the front wheel, you can always hit it with the rear wheel. I had a similar problem in the Vanderhall 3-wheeler. The soundproofing is practically non-existent. In addition, the electric motor whines horribly. Then there is also the suspension noise and sounds that other vehicles around you make. But then I usually drive with the roof open or maybe a window open, so the wind noise partially drowns out other noises. Unless it's cold and all the windows and roofs are closed. When I went to film the beauty shots early one morning, it was maybe 7-8 degrees Celsius, it was damp, slightly windy. Fortunately, the Microlino has a heater. It works along with a rather loud fan, but it works surprisingly well. You can warm up the cabin and then turn it off for a while. I don't know about winter, but I'm recording this review in mid-June, even if it's unusually cool for this time of the year.
I suspect that in the long run, heating increases energy consumption even more and cuts the range short. Hence, I'd suggest the biggest battery you can afford so that you can use the Microlino as long as possible all year round. Charging is only 2.2 kilowatts regardless of the battery, so you don't even need a wall box at home. A regular 2-pin socket will suffice. Charging takes from 2 to 5.5 hours depending on the battery size.
The Microlino is an unusual vehicle, and when I drove it around the city, I saw many smiles and a record number of thumbs up. Sport mode, engage!
Prices of the Microlino start at €17,990 for the 5.5 kWh battery light quadricycle variant. The unlocked model starts at €19,490 with the smallest battery, €21,490 with the 10.5 kWh battery, and €23,490 for the 15 kWh battery. This test car with options costs €24,879.
I don't know if and what EV incentives are available in your country, but something tells me even they won't soften the blow. However, most cars I review these days are so boring. I drive them only to get the data I need to write the script, and then I go back to my cars, ride the bicycle or take the metro. The Microlino is different. I made up errands just to drive it. If you find a car which you want to drive for fun, that's priceless. And how do you like the Microlino? Perhaps you have
experience with another microcar, or maybe you're thinking about getting this one, or maybe you're the sensible Dacia Spring type of buyer. Let me know in the comment section below. If you like my sarcastic, down-to-earth and possibly mildly amusing car reviews, join me every Friday at 3 p.m. Central European Time, and don't forget to subscribe and like this video as it helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.